Hi friends, I'm Laura from Strawberry Moon Farm, and today I'm going to talk about black walnuts. Black walnuts are absolutely everywhere in my part of the world right now. They are falling off the trees, they are rolling around on the ground. The squirrels are having a party. They are so excited. It is their bounty season. And this year we had such an amazing harvest of black walnuts that I have no doubt there's going to be plenty for everyone who wants to partake of them. Squirrels, people, anybody. So I went ahead and picked up about 5-gallon buckets worth of black walnuts for myself today. And I'm going to show you how to remove the husk or the hull, which is this green outer covering around the nut. And then we will prepare the nuts to cure. Now, I'll post some more videos later at the different stages of curing to show you later how we're going to actually crack into the nuts in an easy way, how we're going to use the nut meats, and more fun stuff like that. Today I am just focused on removing this outer coating and separating it from the actual nut so that the nut can dry and cure. I'm also going to be reserving these green husks this year because I have read about ways to make ink and dye out of them, and I am so excited to try that. So I'm going to be putting the nuts into one bucket and the husks into another bucket so that they can both get used. So I have here a cinder block. You can use any hard surface. I used to use my concrete patio, but yeah, these will stain whatever you use to break them open. So this is just a much more affordable sacrificial space to sacrifice on the altar of the black walnut. You're also going to need something to crack them with, like I've got a half of a brick here I'm going to use. You can use your hands or you can use your feet. The kicker is make sure there's nothing truly nasty on the bottom of your shoes if you're going to use your feet. And if you use your hands, even if you wear really sturdy dishwashing gloves like these, you are going to get your hands stained. Because if you are using your hands to physically break these apart, they are going to rip through any kind of glove that I've ever been able to try. So that's why I have the brick and the cinder block, because they're going to be doing the really the high friction parts of the job to hopefully save my gloves so that my hands don't get stained. We'll check afterwards and see. Oftentimes I end up getting a little hole in my glove and I end up with one finger that is brown from the walnut husk, which is, just part of the job, right? Kind of wear it as a badge of honor if that happens to you. It's not that big of a deal. It will wash off in a few days. If you're someone who's really fussy about your hands, then this might not be the project for you. Farm it out to some children who don't care or something like that. So I use just regular gardening gloves to pick up these walnuts off the ground. That usually don't get very dirty from just picking them up. But now I'm switching to processing them, so I am going to put on my dishwashing gloves. There's going to be a lot of inky dye floating around from this process. Ready to go. So I've got my nut here. I've collected mostly the freshly fallen nuts, which are pretty much green all the way around. And I just like that because they seem cleaner and fresher, and it's less likely that there's going to be a bunch of worms rolling around in them. But you can use the darker ones. Some people say that if you use the darker ones, here's an example, this one was just on the ground. The only difference between this and this is that this one has been on the ground longer, so it has already started to decay. The nut inside is still good. Some people say they think if you leave the husk on too long and it turns brown like this, that more of the bitter compounds from this outside husk will get inside to the nut meat and will make your nut meat a little bit more bitter. I've never really noticed a big problem with this myself, but I like to use the green ones anyway. It's worth noting that these ones are easier to get the husk off. So let's get started. Another method that I didn't mention before that some people really enjoy is to put these all over their driveway and then just run over them with their vehicle and split the husk open like that. So I've just loosened it, and I probably pounded it a little more than I had to, but I just want to make it easier to get the nut part out. And this is the part that we're going to dry down and eat, and this is the part, it's the outer casing, which I'm going to try to use to make dye and ink. Try another one. That one, I'm not going to put as much work into that one. So you really don't have to put that much work into them. Just one go, and there you go. And you'll see that it's not 100% clean. I've tried so many methods to get these 100% clean. I even took them over to my parents' house where my dad has a power washer, and I power washed them one year, and they looked exactly the same as before I power washed them. So I just go ahead and leave a little bit on, and it doesn't bother me. Now I have a place for the husk. There we go. So after I get these extracted, I'm gonna save the husk, the outer part, for a week. And I'm gonna save the inner part, the nut, for 1 to 3 months. And this just allows them to come into their full, best useful phase. So I've never made the ink before, but everything I've read says that if you let them sort of age for about a week until they get really dark, like this color, then it makes a much nicer colored ink, a darker pigment. And what I know from experience with the nut is that if you cure it by allowing it to sort of age and dry out a bit for at least 1 month, it will greatly improve the flavor, and the drying aspect will also help your nut store better. It will not be as likely to mold in storage if it has dried out a bit. This is very satisfying. Picking up a little bit of speed with this. Check it out. 3 at one time. Yeah. When you go out and gather your nuts, I think it's really important to think about how many you can actually process and use, because there are other people out there, human and non-human people, like the squirrels, for example, who are really excited to get these nuts. And any that they don't use are actually going to sprout and grow, probably. Maybe they will even be lucky enough to grow into large trees one day. So we don't want to take more than we really need or more than we are really going to use. But it's fine to take what you can process and use, especially in a abundant harvest year like this year. A few foraging rules that I always stick to are: never take more than half of the bounty that you find. Never take more than you think you can use. And that number sharpens with time. You know, there have been years when I have taken too many, and I learned from that it was too much, and then now I just come back and take what I know that I can use. Another thing is never to take something that you don't know about. So, for example, if you're just out in the woods and you see some kind of nut or fruit and you don't know what it is, don't pick it, you know? Don't pick a flower if you don't know what it is, because it might be something that's really rare. So, black walnuts like these are very abundant in this part of the world, so it's totally okay to forage them in a responsible way. But it's always good to make a good ID and check out what something is, like using your phone app or a good field guide before you take anything away. It's also a great idea to try to give something back to the land where you're taking from, or to the trees that you're taking from, or the plants that you're taking from. Think about if there are ways you could steward that species, or help to clean up the land, or, you know, give something back to the community where it comes from. Some of my favorite ways to contribute are by planting new trees and increasing the population of the trees that way, or also by cleaning up trash, because there's just always a lot of trash out there for some reason. I don't know where it's coming from. It floats down the river and then I have it. So, cleaning up trash, planting more trees, making compost is a great one. Or you could bring water to the tree on the dry spells. Although I find that trees do not need water most of the time. The tree already has enough water, doesn't want more. During a drought, that can be a really nice thing to like bring a drink of water to a tree. These are the last 3 nuts. That really didn't take too long. I think that was about 25 minutes all in. Not bad. Start where you are, do what you can, use what you have. So let's see how my hands did. All right, here's the gloves. I don't see any rips in them. Hopefully no stain. Let's see. Oh my goodness, look at this. No stains, it worked. Okay, so I highly recommend this brick and cinder block method, or rocks, or whatever you've got. So the next step is this bucket of husks, hulls, these are gonna sit and age for a week, and they're gonna get all black and gross. Then I'm gonna make ink out of them. And here are the nuts that I collected. See those there? These are gonna need to get spread out in a single layer, and I use cardboard boxes and I keep them inside my home. I have tried keeping them outside and the squirrels take them. I have tried putting them on my screened-in porch, and squirrels or mice or whoever chewed holes in the screens and then came in the screen porch and took them. So I just take them in my house and I put them in my kitchen on my countertop, and I allow them to cure there. So if you have like a pizza box from Takeout Pizza or something, that is perfect. Lay them all out in the pizza box, just 1 layer deep, and you can get another pizza box, 1 layer deep in the next pizza box, and you can stack them like that. Although it is actually best, at least in the beginning, to leave the tops open and let them really air out. But after the first week or so, it's usually okay to stack them. If you don't have pizza boxes, you can use any kind of cardboard or baking sheets, or even like plates, or some people have like burlap sacks or mesh sacks that they hang from the ceiling and they fill the nuts in there. The main thing is you need a protected place where you can give them some airflow and allow them to dry without being eaten by squirrels, mice, or any of the other excited people to get these nuts. So I am gonna go put mine in the kitchen and let them start drying, and I'll check back in a week when I'm ready to make walnut ink. Thank you for tuning in. That's all for today. Find more info on my blog at strawberrymoonfarm.com.